The rain poured heavily as Ryan Carter walked through the dimly lit streets of Astor 5, a human colony world on the edge of known space. He pulled his jacket closer around himself, hurrying towards his small apartment. It had been a long day at work, and all he wanted was a warm drink and some rest. As he turned the corner, he noticed someone standing in the rain. At first, he thought it was just another traveler, maybe waiting for transport. But as he got closer, he realized it was a woman, an alien woman. She was tall and elegant, with smooth silver-blue skin that shimmered under the streetlights. Her long white hair clung to her shoulders, dripping from the rain. She wore a deep violet cloak, now soaked, and her golden eyes darted around, as if searching for something. Ryan hesitated. Most humans and aliens coexisted peacefully here, but it wasn't common to see someone like her, a Xaverian, alone, especially this late at night. "Hey," he called out over the rain. "Are you lost?" The woman blinked and turned to face him. There was something graceful yet distant in the way she moved, like she wasn't used to human interaction. I am searching for shelter," she admitted, her voice soft but firm. Ryan looked around. The streets were mostly empty. He knew the nearest inn was already full. Astor 5 was getting more visitors than usual this week. Do you need help finding a place?" he asked. She hesitated, then nodded. "That would be appreciated." Ryan sighed, running a hand through his damp hair. Why was he even considering this? He could just walk away. But leaving someone stranded in the rain didn't sit right with him. "You can stay at my place for the night," he offered, though he immediately wondered if that was a mistake. "It's small, but dry." The woman studied him for a long moment, as if measuring his soul. Then, to his surprise, she gave a deep, formal bow. "You have my gratitude," she said solemnly. Ryan shifted awkwardly. Yeah. No problem. Let's go before we both catch a cold." His apartment wasn't much, just a simple one-bedroom unit in a quiet part of the colony. Ryan unlocked the door, letting the warm air inside wash over them. "Make yourself at home," he said, tossing his jacket aside. The alien woman stepped inside cautiously, taking in her surroundings. "I am called Veyara," she said after a moment. "Ryan," he introduced himself, grabbing a towel from a nearby drawer. "Here, you should dry off." Veyara took the towel with both hands, bowing slightly again. It was strange. Her movements were too graceful, too deliberate, as if every action held meaning. Ryan shrugged it off and went to the small kitchen. "Are you hungry?" "I have not eaten in many hours," she admitted. Ryan dug through his cabinets, pulling out a pack of ready-made food. He placed it in the heater, and a few moments later, the scent of warm stew filled the room. Veyara sat stiffly at the table, watching him carefully. "You don't have to be so formal, you know," Ryan said, handing her a bowl. She took it gently, inhaling the aroma. "It is rare to find such kindness among strangers." Ryan scoffed. "It's just food. Nothing special." Veyara tilted her head. "Among my people, to share food and shelter is an act of trust, a bond of great significance." Ryan chuckled. "Well, among my people, it just means you don't want someone to starve to death in your house." Veyara didn't laugh. Instead, she carefully lifted the bowl to her lips and took a slow sip, closing her eyes as if savoring every flavor. Ryan found himself watching her, fascinated by the way she seemed so deeply moved by something as simple as a warm meal. A few minutes passed in silence before Veyara placed her bowl down. "I am in your debt," she said. Ryan waved a hand dismissively. "You don't owe me anything. Just rest. You can leave when the storm clears up." Veyara gave him another strange look, as if considering something important. "You are different," she murmured. Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Oh, thanks." She didn't say anything else. Instead, she folded her hands in her lap and sat quietly, lost in thought. Shrugging, Ryan finished his meal and stood up. "There's a couch if you need to sleep. I'll take my room." Veyara nodded, but as Ryan walked toward his bedroom, He could feel her eyes on him, studying him with that same unreadable expression. For some reason, it made him uneasy. Little did he know, his innocent act of kindness had already changed his fate forever. Ryan woke up to the soft aroma of something warm and pleasant in the air. It smelled like food, but he hadn't cooked anything. Frowning, he sat up, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. The rain outside had stopped, and the first rays of morning light peeked through the curtains. Something felt different. Then he heard movement from the kitchen. Still half asleep, Ryan got up and walked toward the small kitchen area. What he saw nearly made him freeze in place. Vayara was standing by the stove, carefully preparing food. His food. She had somehow found the cooking supplies and was now skillfully arranging breakfast on 2 plates. But that wasn't the strangest part. She was wearing one of his shirts, the fabric hanging loosely over her slim frame. His shirt. Ryan blinked, trying to make sense of the situation. Good morning. Vayara turned toward him, her golden eyes bright and calm. You are awake, she said softly. I have prepared a meal for us. Ryan ran a hand through his messy hair. Yeah, I can see that. But why? She tilted her head slightly, as if his question confused her. It is my duty. Ryan frowned. Your duty? Vayara nodded and walked over to the table, setting the plates down. You offered me shelter and nourishment last night. By the customs of my people, this means we are bonded. I am now your mate. Ryan choked on his own breath. Wait, what? Vayara blinked at his reaction. Is something wrong? Ryan stared at her, trying to process her words. Mate? Bonded? He had only given her a place to stay for the night. How could that mean something so serious? Vayara, I think there's been a misunderstanding, he said carefully. She simply gazed at him with unshaken certainty. There is no misunderstanding. Among the Xivarian people, offering food and shelter to one in need is an act of deep significance. It is the foundation of a sacred union. Ryan held up his hands. Wait, hold on. So you're saying that because I let you stay here and gave you some food, you think we're married? She gave a small nod. Yes, it is an ancient tradition, one that cannot be broken. Ryan let out a nervous chuckle, running a hand through his hair. Yeah, that's not how things work for humans. Vayara simply stared at him for a moment before speaking again. I understand that human customs may differ, but the bond has already been made. It is a sacred vow. I will honor my duty. Ryan stared at her, completely lost for words. He had woken up expecting a normal day, and now an alien woman was standing in his kitchen, wearing his shirt and calling herself his mate. This is insane, he muttered, rubbing his temples. Look, I'm not trying to be rude, but I didn't agree to anything like this. I was just trying to be a decent person. Vayara observed him in silence for a few seconds. Then, to his surprise, she softened her expression. I do not wish to bring you distress, she said gently. If my presence troubles you, I will leave, but I will do so as one who is already committed to the bond. Ryan groaned internally. This was exactly the kind of situation he had no idea how to handle. If he let her leave, she might still believe they were bonded. If he kept arguing, he might accidentally offend her or her people. He exhaled, trying to stay calm. Okay, let's just eat first. We can talk after. Vayara nodded and sat across from him, elegantly lifting her fork. Ryan hesitated before taking a bite. To his shock, the food was incredible. You cooked this? He asked. Vayara nodded, watching his reaction. I learned from the recipes in your food storage unit. Ryan blinked. Wait, you figured out human cooking just by looking at recipes overnight? She tilted her head. Was it difficult? Ryan sighed. Okay, that's impressive, but that doesn't change the fact that we need to clear up this whole bonded for life thing. Before Vayara could respond, there was a loud knock at the door. Ryan frowned. He wasn't expecting anyone. He stood up, still confused about everything, and walked to the door. When he opened it, his confusion only grew. Standing outside was a group of 3 alien figures, dressed in formal attire, their expressions serious. One of them, an older Xivarian man with deep blue markings on his skin, stepped forward. "We have come to confirm the union," he said. Ryan felt his stomach drop. "The what?" Vayara stood gracefully, walking to stand beside Ryan. She turned to the visitors and spoke in her own language, her tone calm and respectful. The older Xivarian nodded approvingly before turning his sharp gaze back to Ryan. "By the laws of our people, the bond has been sealed. You are now recognized as Vayara's chosen mate." Ryan could feel his brain shutting down. He had no idea what was happening, but one thing was very clear. This was not going to be an easy situation to fix. Ryan stood frozen at the doorway, his brain struggling to process what was happening. 3 alien officials were standing outside his apartment, their faces serious. "We have come to confirm the union," the eldest of them repeated, his deep voice filled with authority. Ryan felt his mouth go dry. Union. Bond. What was going on? Vayara stepped forward with graceful confidence, speaking in her native language. Ryan didn't understand the words, but the officials nodded approvingly at her. One of the younger officials, a woman with deep violet markings on her silver-blue skin, turned to Ryan and spoke in perfect English. "It is our honor to formally recognize you as Vayara's chosen mate. This bond is not only personal but also carries great significance for our people." Ryan almost choked on air. Wait, hold on. This is all a misunderstanding." The elder Xivarian looked at him with sharp golden eyes. "Misunderstanding?" Ryan rubbed his temples, trying to stay calm. "Yes, I just offered her a place to stay because she was standing in the rain. I didn't know that meant this." The officials exchanged looks before the older one spoke again. "In our culture, offering food and shelter to one in need is an ancient bonding ritual. It is a gesture of trust, commitment, and responsibility. Once accepted, it cannot be undone lightly." Ryan felt his stomach twist. "Okay, but I didn't agree to this." The younger official, the woman, raised an eyebrow. "Did you turn her away?" Ryan hesitated. "No, but..." "Did you refuse to share your food?" "No, but I was just being polite." The elder alien gave a small nod. Then the bond was formed. "This is an honor, human. To break it now would bring great shame upon both Vayara and yourself." Ryan felt like the walls were closing in. This had to be some kind of bad dream. He turned to Vayara, hoping she would help clear things up. "Vayara, please, tell them this is a mistake." Vayara met his gaze, her golden eyes steady. "I have already accepted the bond, Ryan. I will not deny it." Ryan's heart sank. "But why? You don't even know me." Vayara's expression softened, and for the first time, Ryan saw something in her gaze, a quiet determination, mixed with something deeper. "I know enough," she said gently. Ryan ran a frustrated hand through his hair. "Okay, what happens if I refuse? What if I say no right now?" The room fell silent. The elder official's expression grew grim. "Then you will face the consequences of breaking an honored custom." Ryan's stomach twisted tighter. "Which means?" Vayara finally turned away, looking tense. "It means you would dishonor me. And in doing so, you would offend my people." Ryan groaned internally. "Of course. And let me guess, offending your people isn't a good thing." The younger official smirked slightly. "It would not be wise." Ryan exhaled sharply. Great, just great. He had accidentally gotten himself into an intergalactic marriage, and now if he backed out, he'd probably cause some kind of diplomatic crisis. The elder official gave him a long, unreadable look before speaking again. "There is another matter. As Vayara's chosen mate, there is one who may challenge your claim." Ryan frowned. "Challenge my claim?" The official nodded. "There was another suitor. He will not take this lightly." Ryan felt the blood drain from his face. Are you saying someone wants to fight me over this? Vayara finally turned to him again. Scyverian bonds are sacred, but they can be contested. If my former suitor challenges you, you will have to prove your worth. Ryan threw his hands up. This just keeps getting better and better. The younger official gave him a sympathetic look. You have until the next cycle to prepare yourself. If the challenge comes, you must stand your ground, or else Vayara's fate will no longer be in your hands. Ryan stared at them, completely overwhelmed. 1 day ago, he was just a normal guy trying to be nice. Now he was about to be dragged into a battle over a marriage he never agreed to. Vayara finally spoke again, her voice quiet but firm. I will not force you to stay, Ryan. But know this, I did not choose you out of desperation. I chose you because you are different. Ryan didn't know what to say to that. He barely understood what was happening. But one thing was clear, this was not going to be easy to fix. Ryan sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor, his mind a tangled mess of confusion and frustration. 1 day ago, he had simply offered shelter to an alien woman. Now he was being told that he was her bonded mate, and to make things worse, another Scyverian suitor wanted to challenge him over it. He exhaled sharply and ran a hand through his hair. This is insane. Absolutely insane. A soft knock at the door pulled him from his thoughts. When he looked up, Vayara stood there, her golden eyes calm as ever. You have not eaten, she said softly. Ryan let out a small, humorless laugh. Kind of hard to focus on food when I just found out I might have to fight an alien. Vayara stepped inside, moving gracefully, and sat across from him. I understand that this is unexpected for you. Unexpected. Ryan let out a frustrated sigh. Vayara, I don't even know your people's customs. How am I supposed to win a duel against someone who's trained for this their whole life? Vayara hesitated before speaking. The challenge is not just about strength. It is about proving worthiness. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Yeah, well, I don't feel very worthy right now. Vayara studied him for a moment before speaking again. Do you wish to leave? Ryan opened his mouth, ready to say yes, to end this madness and walk away. But then he saw something in her expression. A flicker of sadness, a quiet resignation. She wasn't forcing him into this. She wasn't trapping him. She was giving him a choice. Ryan swallowed hard. If I leave, what happens to you? Vayara looked away. The suitor will claim the bond. I will have no say in the matter. Ryan's hands curled into fists. You mean he'll force you into this? She didn't answer, but the silence said enough. Ryan felt a surge of anger rising in his chest. He had never wanted to be in this situation, but the thought of Vayara losing her freedom because of some ridiculous tradition didn't sit right with him. After a long pause, he finally spoke. All right, tell me what I need to do. The next day, Ryan found himself standing inside a large ceremonial hall, surrounded by Scyverian officials and warriors. The duel was about to begin. The alien suitor, a towering Scyverian named Corvin, stood across from him, his silver-blue skin marked with dark ceremonial tattoos. He was twice Ryan's size, his muscular frame looking like it had been carved from stone. Ryan felt his stomach tighten. Oh great, he looks like an action movie villain. Vayara stood beside him, her voice steady. Remember, the duel is not only about strength. It is about cleverness, resilience, and honor. You do not have to defeat him, only prove that you are worthy. Ryan let out a nervous breath. Right. No pressure. The elder official raised a staff, signaling the start of the challenge. Corvin smirked arrogantly. A human dares to stand before me. This will be over quickly. Ryan didn't respond. He didn't need to. As soon as the signal was given, Corvin lunged forward, aiming a powerful strike at Ryan. Ryan barely dodged in time, rolling to the side. The ground shook where Corvin's fist landed. Okay, so he's strong. Noted. Corvin came at him again, faster than Ryan expected. This time, Ryan didn't try to block. He sidestepped, using speed over power. Vayara had been right. Ryan couldn't outmatch Corvin in strength, but he could outthink him. The fight continued, Corvin swinging with raw force, while Ryan dodged and countered with quick, precise movements. He aimed for weak points, using Corvin's size against him. The crowd began to murmur. The human is fast. He is not fighting like a warrior, but like a strategist. Corvin's frustration grew. Fight me properly, human. Ryan smirked slightly. Why? So you can knock me out in one punch. Corvin roared in anger and charged at full speed. But Ryan had been waiting for this moment. At the last second, he stepped aside, using Corvin's momentum against him. The larger warrior stumbled forward, losing his balance, and Ryan delivered a precise strike, knocking him to the ground. The hall fell silent. Corvin growled but didn't get up. He knew he had lost. The elder official stepped forward. The human has proven himself. The bond remains intact. Vayara exhaled quietly, relief flashing in her golden eyes. Ryan, still catching his breath, looked at Corvin. Hey, no hard feelings, right? Corvin blared at him. Then, to Ryan's surprise, he let out a low chuckle. You fight, with more honor than I expected. He stood, dusting himself off. You have earned this. Ryan nodded, still trying to process what just happened. Vayara stepped closer to him. You did not have to fight, but you chose to. Ryan sighed. Yeah, well, I couldn't just let someone decide your future for you. Vayara watched him carefully, then gave a small, almost shy smile. Thank you. Ryan rubbed the back of his neck. Don't mention it. But deep down, he knew this wasn't over yet. What did this mean for him now? Ryan still couldn't believe what had just happened. One moment, he had been a simple man trying to help a lost traveler. The next, he had accidentally become the bonded mate of an alien woman and had to fight a warrior twice his size to prove his worth. And now, as he walked through the quiet halls of the Xtivarian temple alongside Vayara, his mind raced with questions. So, what now? He finally asked, breaking the silence. Vayara turned to him, her golden eyes calm yet unreadable. Now you are recognized as my bonded mate. The challenge has been settled, and no one may dispute it. Ryan let out a deep sigh. Right. Great. Fantastic. Except I still don't know what any of this means for me. Vayara paused, considering her words. You are free to choose your path, Ryan. The bond is real, but I will not force you to remain if you do not wish to. Ryan frowned. But if I leave, what happens to you? Vayara's expression darkened slightly, and for the first time, Ryan noticed the way her fingers tightened slightly at her sides. If you leave, she said softly, I will be forced into another arrangement, one that I did not choose. Ryan felt something twist in his chest. Vayara, he said carefully, why did you choose me? You barely knew me. Vayara's gaze met his, and for a long moment, she was silent. Then, finally, she spoke. Because you gave me a choice. Ryan blinked. What? Vayara took a slow breath, as if gathering her thoughts. Among my people, bonds are often formed out of duty, obligation, or politics. I was expected to join with someone I did not wish to, for the sake of my family's honor. Ryan felt his stomach tighten. An arranged marriage. She nodded. I did not resist at first. It was expected of me. But when I met you, I saw something different. Ryan frowned. I don't get it. What did I do? Vayara tilted her head slightly, studying him. You offered help without asking for anything in return. You did not see me as a duty or as a prize. You saw me as a person. Ryan rubbed the back of his neck. That's just basic human decency. She gave a small, almost amused smile. Perhaps among humans, but among my people, such kindness is rare. That is why I accepted the bond. Because with you, I had a choice. Ryan let her words sink in. Everything suddenly made sense. She hadn't bonded with him because of some random tradition. She had done it because he had been the first person to treat her like she mattered, not as a noblewoman, not as a political piece, but just as Vayara. Ryan sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. So if I stay, what happens? Vayara's expression grew more serious. You would be my mate in truth. We would walk the same path together, but you would not be bound against your will. If you wish, we may remain as we are, bonded in name, but not in expectation. Ryan stared at her, surprised by her honesty. She wasn't trying to trap him. She was giving him a choice, just as he had given her one. He exhaled, staring at the ground for a long moment. Then, finally, he looked back at her and said, "All right, I'll stay." Vayara's golden eyes widened slightly. "You will?" Ryan gave a small, lopsided smile. "Yeah. I have no idea how any of this works, but I won't let you be forced into something you don't want." For the first time since he met her, Ryan saw something change in Vayara's face, a quiet relief, a softness that hadn't been there before. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan let out a deep breath. "Guess I should probably learn more about this whole bonded mate thing, huh?" Vayara's lips curved into a small smile. "I will teach you." Ryan nodded, feeling the strange sense of certainty settle in his chest. He didn't know what the future held, but one thing was clear. He wasn't running away from it. Ryan sat on the balcony of Vayara's residence, staring at the alien city stretching before him. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the elegant, futuristic structures. It was beautiful, yet he still felt like an outsider in this world. So much had changed in just a few days. He had fought for a bond he never intended to form, and now he was bound to an alien woman by tradition. But the more he learned about Vayara, the more he realized that she hadn't chosen this out of obligation. She had chosen him because he was different. And now he had chosen to stay. A soft breeze carried the scent of unfamiliar flowers, and he heard footsteps approaching behind him. "Vayara, you are quiet," she said, sitting beside him. "Do you regret your decision?" Ryan sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "I don't know if regret is the right word. It's just a lot to take in." Vayara nodded, understanding. "That is fair. You have been thrust into a world that is not your own." Ryan chuckled softly. "Yeah, that's one way to put it." He turned to look at her. "But what about you? You said you chose this bond because I gave you a choice. Do you regret it?" Vayara met his gaze, her golden eyes reflecting the sunset. "No." Her voice was steady, certain. "For the first time in my life, I have the freedom to decide my own fate, and I do not regret choosing you." Ryan felt something tighten in his chest at her words. She meant them, every single one. He looked away, watching the sky. "So what happens now?" Vayara hesitated before answering. "The bond must be reaffirmed before the council. It is a final step, one that will make our union official." Ryan turned back to her, frowning. "Wait, so everything up until now wasn't official?" Vayara gave a small, amused smile. "In spirit, yes. But in the eyes of my people, the bond must be willingly reaffirmed by both mates before it is truly recognized." Ryan's breath hitched slightly. "So, if I don't reaffirm it, the bond will be broken." Vayara's expression turned more serious. "Yes, but if you choose to reaffirm it, there will be no turning back. You will be one of us, recognized as my true mate before the council and my people." Ryan felt his heartbeat quicken. This was it, the real choice. He thought back to everything that had happened. The rain, the shelter, the misunderstanding, the duel, and Vayara's quiet yet determined resolve. He had stepped into this situation by accident, but now he had a real choice to make. Could he really walk away now? Ryan took a deep breath. "And what if I say yes? What happens then?" Veyara's lips parted slightly, as if she hadn't expected him to ask that. Then, you will be welcomed into my people as my mate. You will have a place here, and I will stand beside you, not as one forced into this, but as one who chooses it. Ryan watched her carefully. There was no hesitation in her words. She wasn't asking him to stay for duty. She was asking him to stay because she wanted him to. Ryan's mind raced, but deep down, he already knew his answer. He exhaled, then smiled slightly. All right, let's do it. Veyara's golden eyes widened just a little, and for the first time since he had met her, Ryan saw true emotion flicker across her face. Relief, happiness, and something deeper. Then we will go to the council at dawn, she said softly. Ryan nodded. Yeah, dawn sounds good. The air between them felt lighter, yet charged with something unspoken. For the first time since this whole mess had begun, Ryan didn't feel trapped. He felt like he had finally made the right choice. And for the first time, he saw a future in this strange, unexpected bond. Ryan stood in the grand Severian council hall, his hands clenched at his sides. This was it, the moment that would decide his future. The hall was massive, with towering silver columns that reached high into the glowing ceiling. Strange, elegant symbols floated along the walls, pulsing softly with energy. At the far end, the council members sat on their raised seats, their golden eyes watching him with calm intensity. And beside him, standing tall and graceful, was Veyara. She was dressed in ceremonial robes, her silver-blue skin glowing softly under the hall's lights. She looked as composed as ever, but Ryan could sense the quiet tension in her. This was just as important to her as it was to him. A high-ranking official stepped forward, his deep voice echoing through the chamber. Ryan Carter, human of Earth, do you understand why you stand here today? Ryan swallowed, forcing himself to focus. Yeah, I do. The official nodded. You have entered into the ancient bond of our people, but before it is recognized, it must be reaffirmed. Willingly. A murmur ran through the audience. This was the final step. If he said yes, there would be no going back. Veyara turned to face him, and for the first time since this had all started, Ryan saw something in her eyes that was not duty, but hope. She wasn't forcing him to do this. She was hoping he would choose her. Ryan took a deep breath, looking around at the many Severian faces watching him. His mind flashed back to everything that had happened. The night he found Veyara in the rain. The moment she told him he had unknowingly bonded with her. The fight he had won, proving his worth. The choice he had made to stay. And now he was here, at the final step. He looked at Veyara one last time. He could leave right now. He could walk away and return to his simple life. But he didn't want to. For reasons he couldn't fully explain, he wanted to stay. Not because of tradition, not because of obligation, but because of her. Ryan took a step forward and exhaled. I reaffirmed the bond. The hall fell silent for a moment. Then, a soft hum filled the air as the council activated the ceremonial markings, symbols of energy that glowed between him and Veyara, linking them together in a soft golden light. Veyara let out a quiet breath, and for the first time, she smiled. Not a formal, polite smile, but a real, genuine one. The council leader spoke again, his voice firm. Then the bond is sealed. Ryan Carter of Earth, you are now recognized as one of our own, and as the chosen mate of Veyara. A soft chime rang through the hall, signaling the completion of the ceremony. Ryan barely had time to process it before Veyara turned to him. Thank you, she said softly, her voice carrying more meaning than he could explain. Ryan gave a small, lopsided grin. Guess we're really doing this, huh? She nodded, and for the first time, her expression held warmth. True, undeniable warmth. As the ceremony ended, the Xiverian people bowed their heads in respect, acknowledging him not as an outsider, but as one of their own. Ryan took a deep breath. This wasn't the life he had expected. But as he stood beside Veyara, in this strange and beautiful world, he realized something. Maybe some of the best things in life aren't planned. Maybe this was where he was meant to be. And as Vayara reached out, her fingers brushing against his in a quiet, unspoken connection, Ryan knew one thing for sure. He wasn't alone anymore.